For school, I was quite wild at school, really. By the
Aye.
time I was a teenager, I was doing things that other teenagers
Aye.
probably weren't doing. And if you are, there was addiction in my family early on. My brother had been an addict.
The heroin thing that was doing in there, or was it?
At that time, probably back in the days, it was kind of hitting Ayrshire hard, and it was kind of coming in, and there probably was no loads of teenagers doing it, but there was, it was in the kind of more Glasgow overspill areas.
Aye.
Out the blue, the Liverpool police were at my door, and at this point I hadn't really been in contact. I'd been working with folk for Liverpool or anything, and they just said I was coming for an interview, which I thought, right, the interview then turned into a year and a half in remand, a 3-month trial with 28. At the time, I was praying, I was reading, I started to go for feeling claustrophobic, having anxiety, stressed out, angry at the system, angry at everybody was getting the blame for my situation. Teaches you about evil and darkness, and it being a spiritual thing as opposed to a people thing. It's in people, we've all got sin in us, but it's separating the two. And that's an easy thing to try and love people.
So, welcome to Social Sessions. Today we've got Candice Gorman on. How you doing, Candice?
Good.
How you doing? It's obviously great to have you here, and we're going to kind of just go and cover a lot of things on how you have managed to change. And the change is quite dramatic, Candice. So I'll take you back to kind of where you grew up. Was it Ayrshire?
Ayrshire, aye. Irvine, I grew up in Colwynning. I was born in Irvine, grew up in Colwynning.
What was it like? Because obviously I know your dad and your uncle and that, and they were kind of like well known down there. So see, growing up, was that something that you kind of like you always knew, like, or was it something you were kind of hid for, or?
I think what my family's involvement with crime and stuff like that was always known. Aye. It wasn't like when it was probably quite, crime was just what people done, and it was kind of what you done to survive, and so it wasn't like my household was quite a safe environment.
Aye.
And there was a lot of love, and we were taught a lot of good morals and good manners and a lot of like protection. I probably, these things made me feel safer growing up.
Yeah.
Which is a mad thing.
No, I don't think it's, I mean, obviously we've had loads of different people on the show, and I think you've got to understand, like, I think I heard you saying before on another podcast, like how things can be like generational and they can be passed down, and it's breaking the cycle, and obviously we'll go into how like your family has broke that cycle, but sometimes that is just the way, like, and if you're brought up and there's no really much going on, you're in a working class community, there's no much going on. Was there anything in Irvine that happened that maybe people that pushed people towards crime? Was there like, did they shut the mines, or was there anything like that? Like,
I don't know. When what I've kind of heard is that my dad and all that were all brought up in a kind of poverty-stricken area.
Yeah.
Their mum was an alcoholic, and they were all kind of brought up in a right loving old school family home with old Nana that had 6 wains in the house and fed the whole street, and everybody called her Nana, and there was all that goodness. But I think the environment and probably the trauma and stuff like that, the dysfunction, whatever it is that goes on in that, then kind of you're resilient, aren't you, sometimes, and you're like, right, well, how do you get out of this place? How do you survive? How do you provide? How do you, and probably people take on that role, don't they?
well, definitely. I think it's like you look at the working class areas, and you genuinely like say, like, what is your options here? Like, you go down the option of like going and dating grafting, doing a really hard 9-to-5 job, or you can, and then obviously the introduction of drugs was a big thing, because before that you probably had, like, I don't know, maybe safes and bank robberies and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But then when drugs come in, it kind of made it easy for people to make a lot of money, and I don't think people probably. I think how it's like, I see when you ask people, like even people that manage to get to quite a high level of crime, you go, "How did you get there?" I don't know. It was just like an event. That, like, it was like I tumbled along and I ended up there. Do you know what I mean?
And I think in the cities, they were used to kind of, like Ayrshire probably wasn't really equipped for when drugs kind of come in, and
Aye.
it kind of hit Ayrshire, didn't it? Especially heroin in the 90s was like a pure epidemic, and
Was that?
there was all sorts of deaths. There was full generations of people wiped out, but they probably didn't really know what they were up against in the days, and folk are just trying to
Aye.
make some money on it sometimes back in the days.
I think it's you. There's a lot. There's that. You've probably heard this before, Candice. You've probably used it at some point. Like, I think we'll have like when you go, well, if I'm not doing it, somebody else will be doing it anyway.
Aye.
So, you're providing a service. If you know what I mean, that is what you're doing. It's like to me, I genuinely don't see the difference sometimes with like alcohol companies and stuff
Mhm.
like that. How they're all right to
Mhm.
like have CEOs and stuff like that. Now, I'm not trying to say, I
Aye.
know that there's a
No,
lot
it's
of crime and
aye.
violence that comes with
Aye.
stuff, but when if you're like the CEO of Smirnoff, you're causing a lot of
Aye,
damage to
and
the
that's it, and
communities.
that's how you justify it. And I always thought in my mind that alcohol kills more people
Aye,
than anything.
aye, which is true.
And it's like people are addicted to alcohol, people are addicted to cigarettes. So
Yeah,
what is the difference? But I don't really think that way today. But in
no,
reflection, it's different. But back then, you're always kind of justifying, isn't it, what you're doing? I
aye,
think.
but I don't. I mean, it's about it's a. Some people will get that and some people won't. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And some people, they need to say the transformation. Obviously, we'll go into the transfer how you manage to transform your life, because it's amazing to watch, and you've got an aura about you, Candice. You really do, like where it's like positive, and you don't talk about any of these stuff. You don't glorify anything that you done. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's it's people like that people watch and believe maybe I can change. Then do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And obviously you see that with your group and stuff. Because I was lucky enough to come down to one of the events, and it was
Aye.
you could feel the energy. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So what was it like growing up in school then and stuff? Like, was it?
Um, for school, I was quite wild at school, really. By the
Aye,
time I was a teenager, I was doing things that other teenagers
aye,
probably weren't doing. And if you are, there was addiction in my family early on. My brother had been an addict. He
aye.
was probably the first kind of where it was a real problem. The
Wait, can I
first,
ask you when that was? Was that like the 90s? Was that?
well, that would have been about the 90s,
Aye, aye.
aye.
Because a lot of people didn't know what heroin
Aye.
was, didn't they know? Like, do
No,
you know what I mean?
and even back then, it was my brother was an addict first, where my gran was an alcoholic back, but at the time I was born, she was already in recovery.
Aye,
She was in the 12 steps, but by the time I was aware of what addiction was, it was through my brother's example of how, and it's just traumatic, and it's
aye.
a catastrophe. Even if there's crime, addiction in the household takes it to another
Of course.
level, and he was quite extreme.
Aye, aye, aye. I know, and that obviously you obviously have that, and you're seeing that in somebody you love. Do you know what I mean? And you're
Hmm.
probably in and out of that. So when did you kind of start? Like, did you have a group of pals that kind of maybe were a wee bit more advanced, if you like, in the things you were doing, like maybe going to? Because I know Air kind of had a big rave scene and stuff like that.
Right, aye.
Did you go to the raves and that, or did?
No, really, no. When we were young, we would smoke hash and all that for
Aye,
a
aye,
young
aye,
age. We were at the school. I was like doing all sorts of mad things at
aye,
school, putting it in the home economics and the apple crumble and all that. I was up to all sorts when I was like really young. When I think
aye.
back, I think that's mad. Like when you see
I know.
14-year-old wee lasses in the school, I doubt any of them are
Aye,
they kind of behaviours kind of thing. But it just progressed for me very quickly as I
aye,
went for like smoking hash with my pals and that being a kind of fun thing to do to then into like kind of more classy
aye,
hardcore drugs quite early on. So
aye,
right away I had a problem and I was
aye.
aware of it. Yeah, but probably about 16.
So, was there anything? Were you going out? Did you, like? Was there not? Did you go out with older guys or anything like that? Was that like an influence, or was it
Um,
more like
Aye, there
no?
was always like we would kind of when I started using uh, stronger drugs, we would go to areas where we would be in away from kind of like the area that my dad would
Aye, aye,
know everybody and
aye.
know a
That's
lot that was going
aye,
on, and folk would report back. So I'd try to get away with stuff. So I'd get into like wee tunes like Dracorn, and it was like older folk in parties and getting in there and getting and using drugs and just stuff going on that shouldn't be going on. And isn't it?
I think that's what I mean, we all kind of like, if you say to most people, like, when did you start drinking in Scotland? Like, they will say 14, 15, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at school, like, the few people that did go and you used to hear maybe taking eckies young and all that, like, you did hear it, do you know what I mean? Like, and there was always that. And I don't know, I think it's probably worse now for the young ones because I
Mm-hmm.
think cocaine's normalised, Candice, do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I don't think it should be. It's
Aye.
it's a powerful drug that people don't see it as that, but it's weird that when you talk to people, they go, "It's only, I mean, I'm like, it's only coke I take," and you're like, "What do you mean it's only coke you take? Like, it's
Aye.
fucking hell, mate. It's like one of the most powerful drugs in the world. Do you know what I mean?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't. Was it more like the the heroin thing that was doing in there, or was it?
At that time, probably back in the days, that was what was kind of hitting Ayrshire hard, and it was kind of coming in, and there probably was no loads of teenagers doing it, but there was it was in the kind of more Glasgow overspill areas
Aye,
like Broomlands, Buttery Hill, going into like wee towns like Drecorn, Pennyburn. It seemed to, and there was a lot of kind of protestation against it. The people didn't want heroin,
aye.
and my family in particular didn't really like it. In
I
the
know.
areas that we were at, it was like as if you were trying to control all
I know
this
what you mean.
stuff. No,
Aye,
if everybody didn't sell heroin, it wouldn't be as bad.
I know.
There was but you do that, don't you? There's
I we all try and justify it. It's like you'll do, especially when you're making money and if you're providing well for your family,
mm,
and then somebody comes along and goes, "Listen, that's you should stop that. Like you need to go and work a 9 to 5, mate, and you'll get 200 quid a week." They're
mm-hmm.
like that's
Aye.
way below what I'm living like the now. Do you know what I mean? So I think you find a lot of people get caught up in that world just because, like we've spoken about it, like maybe ego and different things that are driving that factor.
Mm-hmm.
But when was your first kind of run in with a law then,
Right,
Candice?
and
When was
there was
that?
probably I had a kind of couple of wee possession charges
Aye,
just when I was about maybe 18.
aye,
Nothing really major for me. So I had I'd been in addiction for years and years, and then I had went out with a guy, and he had ended up in the jail, and I had kind of ended up involved in whatever he was doing at the time,
aye,
and he was selling stuff and that, and I kind of it's one of the things you can fall into very
aye.
easily, and then it
Is that how you kind of get caught up then? Because I watched that wee video where you said like that's kind of your boyfriend, what I mean, you just kind of took the role up by doing what he was doing.
mm,
But so it was how long after that was that when you kind of went to prison? When was
right.
that? When did
That
you?
was probably a good maybe about 8 year later.
So did you get that kind of a good run at it? Like if you know what I mean,
I
like aye,
like I
like
just for me the severity of what I actually done, it just didn't feel like that at the time.
I know,
I fell into it by accident. I felt like I was just kind of, to be truth, to be honest, I never really even was in contact with a lot of people.
aye,
So I would really meet up with somebody every now and again. I used the drugs that I used. I took the money that I needed.
aye,
I passed on the phone numbers and made a few phone calls and tried to live as normal a life as possible I could
aye.
as a drug addict that was on.
Try to function, kind
It
of
was
thing.
trying
Aye,
to function and create this world that was it was like this as if it was normal,
aye,
and it wasn't until the Polish chap at my door and took me to
aye,
Liverpool one day, and
aye.
then it kind of felt like, oh, maybe this is a bit
Isn't
more
it? Aye,
serious than
aye,
I thought it was.
aye, aye. Just a wee bit. So obviously, like, had you ever been in the like? Did you ever been
No,
lifted? Nothing like that, no.
no jail, nothing.
So it'd have been a bit of shocking. So obviously I know you don't need to go into as much details what you can, Candice, but I know it was a huge kind of case that was going on and you had been dragged into it.
Right.
How did your part? How did you know? How did that come into it? Do you know like how that even?
So what I was just arrested, and I had um been in contact with these guys for Liverpool that I had known for the year prior.
Aye, aye,
I hadn't seen them for about 6 months, but I had been involved in stuff with them, and I hadn't seen them for about 6 months, and out the blue, the Liverpool police were at my door, and at this point I hadn't really been in contact. I'd been working with folk for Liverpool or anything, and they just said I was coming for an interview, which I thought, right, the interview then turned into a year and a half in remand, a 3-month trial with 28 guys for Liverpool. Half of them I didn't know. It was just this big, and I was the whole time thinking, what is going on here? The truth is, I didn't actually think they had enough evidence to convict me at that point. So I fought it and fought it and fought it. And I was so like I was such a different person back then for the day, and I was just so driven and egotistical and determined that I was going to get back to this life that I had created for myself, and I wasn't going to, even at the point where I was arrested, I never went, right, I throw up my hands, I've done my part in it, let's be accountable for that and get a lesser sentence in it. That I was just so strong-minded and just like determined, like, no, I'm not getting done with this, I'm fighting this and all that. It was mad.
It's obviously shows like your character on that side as well, but in the way that you've got that drive, do you know what I mean? Like, where, because it's a fucking hard thing today, like as a female, like as well, that's getting pulled into this big trial to kind of stand tall and do you know what I mean? Like, and I know there's that thing, but a lot of lassies, they crumble, and I don't mean that, but if you're in that big thing where you know what I mean? You're like, fucking hell, like, what the fuck's happening here? Like,
I know it's delusional. It is delusional, but in that, at that time, I probably like had built up such a character within myself who I thought I was. So I just
you kind of
played the part.
Not thriving off it, but were you kind of like using that, like your experience of the years, just to go, like, I know I can beat this here, and just the way any like criminal mind would think, like, I'm going to find a way around about this to get it.
I was probably scared, and then I'd go into default mode and just be go into character and be like, nah, I'm not getting done with this, and I would phone and go, they've got nothing on me, and like just I would just be going about the jail. I'm getting away with this here and all that. Like I just.
So were you down in Liverpool?
I was in Liverpool, and they took me to Style prison, HMP Style. It's in between Liverpool, it's Cheshire.
Right. I've been to Cheshire. I've been to the kind of shopping bit in Cheshire, the big shopping.
Right, it's nice.
It's lovely there.
I've never been.
The prison was nice.
It's actually, the mad thing is, when I went in there, it was just like this wee village. So that wasn't really like prison either. So when I went in, it was just like these big houses you stayed in. It was kind of part open, which was mad for a remand prison. Because you usually need to be a bit further on before you're in an open prison. So I was in like this kind of wee village, and folk were out cutting grass, and there was jobs, and it was dead strange. There was an area, it was more secure, which eventually I ended up there, where they put folk. Do you know what I mean? But,
so that's weird, isn't it? But like, so they've got the open, I can imagine, like, so like maybe having shots and like then with Castle Huntly beside it, that would be weird. That would be weird. Like,
it's like you're just, as soon as you go in. So that was my kind of first experience.
What were you like going into prison? Because I always ask people that, because I remember I was only like, I think I was 19, and I was terrified going in, but you can't show that. Like, you need to kind of put that face on where, like, you're trying to kid on your no, but when you hit that desk and all that, and it's like, you watch films and that, do you know what I mean? And you see all these films, mafia films and all this shit like that, do you know what I mean? So you think that the jail's going to be like that, do you know what I mean? But were you kind of scared, or were you kind of not like ready for it?
I was probably kind of, I had been in the police station for so long, I'd ended up in there they'd kind of held me in there a bit longer than I felt like I should have been there, and I was, at this point, I'd probably be withdrawn off the drugs that I'd been using, so I was kind of on the phone, I was upset. I remember to my mum and saying, I just want to get to the jail now.
I know what you mean.
Because I already had an idea in my mind that the jail, I knew the jail would be better than the police station. More equipped or whatever, and I would maybe get medicated there and that type of thing. So I was probably relieved to be at the police station, but a wee bit apprehensive, obviously, about what is you're in a country, a different country, and they're speaking their Scousers and Manx, and you know what I mean? And you're just like, what? And like you meet folk in the waiting room, and, but women's prisons are probably a wee bit different from men's too, aren't they?
I think so. I've had a few lasses that have been in the jail, do you know what I mean, and on the here, and I think it is a wee bit different, do you know what I mean? But I mean, it's still jail, and it's still like the concept is just freedoms are took off you, and that's what kills you, do you know what I mean? It's so what was prison like then? Like, cause did you take to it, or were you alright with it? Like, did you take to prison life, or?
Initially, I think in my mind I was always going to get out.
Aye.
And then obviously I was convicted and I was sentenced to 13 years. And so after that, I surrendered to the fact that I wasn't, and after that, I was quite settled.
Aye. It was a 3-month trial, wasn't it?
It was a 3-month trial, aye.
Was that like travelling?
That was horrendous.
Oh, God,
that was horrendous. That was a sentence in its own. That actually felt like what would happen was I would leave the prison at 6 a.m. and I would come back we would be last to get picked up, and we'd come back about 8, 9 at night. A lot of the time I wasn't getting showers or medication or even like the right meals.
Aye.
So it was like I was only really in the prison at the weekends. People were in the prisons that I didn't even know.
And dubbing you up, really? Like,
aye, because it was skeleton staff at night. They were coming in, so that went on for months. People in the prison didn't even know me.
Aye.
I'd been in, and I was just in this constant cycle. It was honestly, see if I wasn't self-medicating at the time, I don't know if I would have got through it. That was hard, that trial.
And you're sitting there with a lot of people you don't know, as you say. You're a big, massive doc, and it was obviously you've got the kind of UK media watching and all that. Do you know what I mean? It must have been.
And you just put a face on, didn't you?
You do, and it's that fear, like as you say, the fear. Like I think you're in fight or flight mode, aren't you? And you just just need to
go on with it.
I mean, you see sometimes you people come into prison, and you probably know this yourself. You become that person that people phone and go on and make sure we so and so's all right when it comes in, and you say aye, but when they come in, some people take to it, and some people don't, man. And it's a shame for the people that don't.
Aye.
Like I didn't ever take to prison life. I hated it.
Right.
But I kind of got there, like where I was just like, do you know what? I need to just fucking go on with this, man. And I had some good pals and all that kind of stuff. But you get some people like Jamie White. Jamie was saying like, on the podcast. The podcast we've done with him, he was all right going to jail. He used to get a break, which I understand.
Some people get into that kind of. Aye, no, I took it like a duck to water. After the first year and a half, I was like, I'd done loads of qualifications. I went to a different prison, HMP Low Newton, and I loved it there. As soon as that shift happened, I settled. I made pals. I preferred the kind of more up north. I thought like the Geordies and that were more similar to the Scottish. And I went in and I went right into college, hairdressing, because I had a beauty salon before. So I had been in for working in my salon. And so then all of a sudden they would get you and you would use all your skills and come in and teach the lassies. And before I knew it was just a life separate for everybody.
I mean, obviously these things have served you well, like for going in then, do you know what I mean? Like you've had a wee bit of skills, and because obviously, that I know that's a big thing in the girls' jails, isn't it? It's like how looking well and just kind of keep
you still deal with that, don't you?
Up,
That's definitely aye.
So it's obvious. So it was 12 years, am I right? 12 years you get sentenced to, was that right?
13 I get sentenced to, which I would serve like 7.
Right, so 7.
I'd deal it with English sentence, you just do half.
So
just under 7.
It's a soldier, isn't it? Like it's a soldier, and then obviously. Did you get moved to a Scottish prison?
Eventually, but that's a big process. So that it's like about a year in the process actually getting transferred.
Aye.
So I spent about 3.5, 4 years in English prisons, which are 100 times better than Scottish prisons.
Heard that a few times.
Your full-time education and all that down there. You're opened up all the time. Everything's just, they get more funding for even their resources for like recovery or like chaplaincy or like education. Everything's they just get, like the prisons are just better. I don't know about the men's prisons, but
no, I've heard a lot of
my
people
experience.
say that. I think I don't know, but like I know down there, like is it double cat A and all that shit cat A. I think like
Right.
they're a bit. I don't think they're good. Do you know what I mean? But I think
Right.
if you're in the kind
Aye.
of normal English prison system, I've heard a lot of people saying it's much better than
Aye.
Scotland. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So but did you want back to Scotland? But
I wanted back to Scotland because in my mind, after about maybe 4 years, I would start to get progression.
aye, right,
So I would start to go to open prisons.
Aye.
So in my mind, I would transfer, and round about that time, I would go and start to get home in my family, which would make me a sense if I was in a Scottish prison.
aye, because because home leaves. I suppose it could be done down there, but it's be a lot easier. So did you eventually get transferred up?
I
to
get
Scotland?
transferred to Greenock, and I think it was 2019.
Aye,
I came up. Aye.
and was it a shock? Were you like, aye?
I hated it.
And,
I never settled in Scotland. Like ever, for the minute I arrived, I was like, "This is horrendous." They were all the screws would shout at you and all that. I was just to like kicking off. If you kick off with the wee English screws, like you can boss them about and all that. Accidentally, you get these old school Scottish screws, but you were looked at all the time, and I just missed all my pals and the bit I was for and everything. It was horrendous.
I know it is, and it's. I mean, well, I'm going to talk about the wee bit where because it wasn't you kind of went into COVID quite quickly then, didn't you?
Aye.
And I know that was horrendous for a lot of people. And,
Aye.
I don't think people actually realise how much damage that done to a lot of
Aye, in
prisoners. Like,
prison.
I don't think people
That was
understand
horrendous.
that. Still to this day, Candice, there's a lot of people that are
Never
damaged by it.
recovered.
No
Aye.
recovered for it.
Can you imagine?
You were lucky to get a kind of spiritual awakening through it. So how did that come about?
Well, by the time lockdown happened, I was already desperately trying to get back to England.
Aye.
They'd already said that I would need to do a lot more courses and stuff to get even the progression that I was kind of at the stage that I should have been getting. So I was just trying to get back to England, and I was in HMP Stockton at the time, and it was just hell on earth. There was lockdown constantly. It was 23 hours a day, and it was like you didn't know when it was going to end. The weeks were going into months. It was in my mental. And what happened with me was my whole sentence I had used,
Aye.
and that had been
coping
my
mechanism.
coping mechanism. And all of a sudden, the lockdown happened, so there was nothing happening.
You couldn't get in.
You couldn't get in.
Aye.
So for the first time in probably about 22 years at this point in my life, I've got to then face reality, and it's not a good reality because I'm in long-term isolation, and my mind's no good, and I'm in the midst of a big sentence, and it was just pure hell, and my mental health was deteriorating month after month. It was getting worse, and I had a couple of years, around about a couple of years to go, and I remember phoning my mum and dad, and they had been so supportive. Like even in that trial, they were there every day.
Aye.
For me, and I was phoning them and saying, I don't think I can do another, and I'd never had that mindset. So I'd always been like, just go on with it in character, and at this point I was like, I don't think I can do it. And I remember just being so unhappy and miserable and claustrophobic in the cell, feeling like
Was that the general consensus in the prison? Was there a lot of that?
oh, it was horrendous. There was self-harming, there was it was like as if all of a sudden society had locked down. We didn't have a clue what was going on, and we were just like, just get behind your doors, and that was it. And people were like not able to speak to their wains. I felt sorry for the mothers at that time. They couldn't even speak to their wains. So you were getting out for maybe 20 minutes, and the whole time you were just thinking, I need to get back in this room again. For months and months, it was so bad. I don't know.
See, we were lucky. We were up in Castle Huntley when that happened, so we kind of had.
Look, a bit open.
Castle Huntley was seen as a household, so you were kicking about there.
You were able to be about other people and
they
stuff.
weren't allowed to do drug tests because the COVID, they couldn't go into the rooms and all that.
Right.
So you can imagine there was what was going on up there. Do you know what I mean? So it was Castle Huntley was probably. I mean, when I was phoning people, we were out playing football and we were going to the gym, and that, and people were like, "What? How?" Like we were seen as a one house.
Because you were,
but it did stop.
you were.
I don't know why. Obviously, I think there was a complaint. I think there was like, we were seen as a bubble.
Right.
But I think there was complaints made by some of the officers that said I think they were getting a bit annoyed going, well, we're not even allowed to go to the gym and they're doing it at the gym playing
Right.
football and all that kind
Aye.
of stuff. Know what I
Aye,
mean?
that's what it was like, isn't it?
But I can't imagine being in Addiewell. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to think of myself, like, being in Addiewell and being locked in, like, that constant 23. Because, I mean, there's only so many, I don't even know if you play the computer, but there's only so many computer games and box sets you can watch. And then
Aye.
you're
Like
kind of,
chronic boredom, isn't it?
totally.
But no, it was just. Do you know what? I look back in that time and I think that was hell. That was the worst like point ever in my life, and whatever. But I see it as a blessing at the same time. If that hadn't
No, I
happened,
get that.
everything wouldn't have changed for me. And it was through prayer.
Aye.
I started reading the Bible. I started connecting.
How did that come
To
about?
God.
Because I know there's a Bible in every Peter, right? Well, there used to
Aye.
be anyway, right? There's a Bible in every Peter. Was it just there one day? You just went, I'm going to look at this, or
No, what happened was there's a charity called Junction 42 and they would give you packs. So if you were kind of, if you were like, and there was wee Bibles, there was wee Gideon Bibles
right?
that were coming through they were coming under the door.
Aye,
Not to everybody, but if you were kind of
aye,
seeking.
open to it. Aye.
And I had done an alpha course with them when I was in the English prison.
Right.
And I wasn't a Christian at the time, or I didn't really, I believed in God, but I didn't really know much about it all. I just
Aye.
kind of had something and it planted a wee seed with me for back then.
Aye.
And I had, in this hard period of time, I had started to pray and cry out and ask God for forgiveness for, you know what, it was a time of reflection for me, I know, because what was able to happen was I was able to, for the first time in my life, see my part in things.
Aye.
For some reason, I could see things differently and I was just praying, saying, God, I don't want to be like this anymore. This is me that's got me here.
Aye.
I don't want to live like this anymore. Help me change, just all the, and like, sincerely praying.
Aye.
Because you can pray, like, when I was in trial, I prayed in the dock.
I know what you mean.
You know that way,
it's a
please
half
God,
pray-
get
aye,
me
aye, and
this,
that-
get
but
me
you-
bail.
I get. I know. No,
Aye.
you're just, and I think everybody must do that because
Aye.
but you're not really praying. I know what you mean. It's
not-
half-hearted. It's not even half-hearted. It's
Just you're no willing to change. That was the thing. But a mad thing had happened. It's important to mention this because it is part of my story. But when I was in trial, I was praying. I remember saying, "Please God, get me out of this. I'll no sell drugs again. I'll no take drugs." And I was doing that, and it was that kind of prayer that you'd throw up, just forget us out of this one, God. This promise will be good. And I remember going up and being convicted, and I remember feeling and going
Was it
down.
a guilty? Was it a jury?
It was a guilty, it was a jury. And it was such a dramatic moment. Like the one jury member burst out greeting and all that. It was like, everybody in my family are all...
Were you the only female in it?
There was another lassie, but in fact, no, there was two. One walked and another lassie, she came with me
Right.
that day. Another lassie got 9 years. And she probably never had really a lot of involvement, to be fair, on her part for what I seen wasn't for 9 years.
Aye.
But at this moment, it was just so dramatic, and that was probably the hardest. Like, later on, I get the 13 year, right, which I thought was a bit extreme.
Aye.
But I was already in my mind that I knew I was getting a big sentence. I knew it wasn't going to be, but it was the guilty that absolutely floored me. So when I went for the dock back down to the cells, I remember just being like traumatised, like, I can't, but like, when you're standing up and sitting down, you just don't know what to do with yourself.
No,
and then I remembered,
I remember
I remembered that I had prayed.
Aye.
And I remember saying in that moment, I can't believe you've done this to me,
Aye.
to God.
Aye.
And in that moment, something happened. There was a shift, and there was something I felt. I had a spiritual experience in reflection. Right, I maybe didn't know that at the time, but what happened was I felt peace, and I felt that it was going to be all right.
Aye.
That there was something good was going to come. It wasn't like, a big audible voice.
I know what you mean.
It was just a feeling that you think this is bad, but good's going to come of this.
Aye.
And I never I never started behaving myself right away. I never had great plans to go and change and never be involved in it. I went into the jail system and I got into every bit of carnage that you could ever think of. Survival mode, boredom, made the best of a bad situation. But at the end, when it was in the lockdown, in that moment, that's when I was really ready.
I mean, see if you're a character in the jail and you're maybe one of the people that's got that undercurrent and you're running an undercurrent and you're beat then, aren't you? Like, because you can't do nothing. See, when they stop the system, like, you're beat. Do you know what I mean? You've got to kind of realise, like, you're not being able to do what you usually do, and you've no the characters away because you don't need to play the character. It's only you and that the four walls constantly. So there's characters not there anymore. Do you know what I mean?
You've nothing left.
You've nothing left. Do you know what I mean?
You've nothing left to give.
So, what was your take on? I mean, I ask everybody this because what was your take on the prison? I only see people changing, right? Whether it's through what's happened, like maybe finding God, or if somebody's just had enough. Genuinely had enough. The 12 steps. Bar that, I don't see much change, and I don't see the system trying. And that's not to say that it's bad people, because they're just doing the job that they're told to do today. But to me, the system's is broke, and it always has been broke. What's your take on that, the system?
I think for me, it just felt like pretty hopeless, didn't it?
That's what
like
I thought.
It didn't feel like I don't think I had a great desire to change anyway, but I feel like if I did, it didn't feel like I had a lot of hope in this is what's going to help me. For me, it's God, it's spiritual help. That's what I couldn't have seen any other way in some people. But as you say, the statistics show that the chances are most people are going to get out and do the same thing. That most people are going to, that are in addiction. They're not going to be taught how to battle it in there. It's not going to be something. It's not happening. It's a turnover. The same people are coming in. You're doing a long-term sentence and you're seeing the same faces coming in every 3 months and thinking, what are you doing if I get the chance to get out of here? I'd be off.
I know.
And they're
do you think it's a lack of awareness, or do you think I mean, there is that, and all. I think there's a low vibration in the prison. There's people are like, I don't think there's a good atmosphere, if that makes sense. The atmosphere in it is going to keep you on fight or flight. Do you know what I mean? Because you're constantly probably, like, as we were talking, you think everybody's got an angle, you're trying to work out what they, and it may be just something saying, Candice, have you got any whatever painkillers or whatever, and you're like, what's her angle, and like, what they think. It's like you're just trying to do everybody else's thinking for them. Do you know what I mean? But it's survival. That is what it is. It's you're trying to survive in an environment that's harsh, volatile, like can explode at any minute.
I think it's not designed to be. It's not meant to be easy, isn't it? No, and the thing for me is, I think they do the best with what they've got, which isn't much. But the thing for me was, I hated the system, and I hated the staff, and I hated, and seeing when I had the experience I had, and I changed. That all changed for me. See, the last 6 months of my sentence was the easiest time I ever done. Because I wasn't fighting anymore. I wasn't fighting anybody, and even the screws who didn't like me, I couldn't never get. I used to be like, he hates me. They never gave me a good job, or because I was always up to all sorts of chaos, causing them problems. So when I started to change, and I started to, I could even maybe help some folk, or and be just no causing problems. It was the easiest sentence I ever done. There was I didn't need to go about the whole suspicious that everybody was wanting something, or because I didn't. I was separate for that. I had changed that, and I got a good job. Know what I mean? A wing job. I got on. I remember one of the screws coming and giving me a paper. This guy hated us, that when he came and he opened my cell door and he went, Candice, you want that paper? And it was like the mistake, knowing that something's really uncomfortable. Like that. It just felt weird, and I was like, "Hi, thanks, gang."
I know, but that is the change into that, because obviously beforehand you were like, "Fuck off!" Like, I don't like that.
I hated this, didn't it? No wonder, but isn't it?
I think it's hard because it's like you say it like earlier. You just see people as everybody's people now, and the system's designed a wee bit for that, us and them, isn't it? Like, it's hard to, when you're in that environment and all that, I don't know, because it's hard for them and all.
And it's just a job, isn't it?
and they're coming in, getting
I,
spat
I
at,
couldn't do it.
getting
That's
spat
it.
at, and
Aye,
getting hanged, and
aye,
you know what I mean. There's a lot that they take. Do
aye.
you know what I mean? So we all think, he's a prick and he's doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and but you don't know what's going on in his family life. You don't know nothing, and he's coming into a harsh
But they've
environment. And
experienced the other prisoners
of
and
course,
things.
do you know what I mean?
Isn't it?
Because you used to see guys coming in. I don't know if you remember this. You'd get screws coming in, you'd go, he's all right, and then 6
Few
months
months
down the
later,
line,
you're
you'd
like,
be like,
oh.
oh, for fuck's sake, look you, man, walking
That's
about,
what happens.
looking at Nicky.
And it's not that they build an ego down about
I
it, it's
know.
that they have bad experiences with
Totally.
prisoners too, isn't it?
And they end up shaped by their environment. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to see the environment for what it is. But so we'll move on for that. So obviously, you've had the spiritual experience, and are you starting to read the Bible now and all that? Then?
Reading the Bible, I'm in, basically, my whole life, all I know is what I think is good, which hasn't got me very far. I thought I was a good person.
Aye.
That just maybe made some mistakes.
Aye.
But I had belief systems and things. But I thought if I didn't say things that I thought were wrong, that made me a good person. So I had to really renew my mind. I had to learn what good was.
Aye.
I had to learn who God is.
Aye.
And I had to, in the Bible, I basically started reading the Bible and learning stuff. And I had a moment where I remember reading about the crucifixion.
Aye.
And I remember in that moment feeling, at the time I was praying, I was reading, I started to go for feeling claustrophobic, having anxiety, stressed out, angry at the system, angry at everybody was getting the blame for my situation. The Screws, the Scousers, Boris Johnson, Nicola Sturgeon, everybody was to blame, right? But when I started to pray, take responsibility, ask God for forgiveness, it was as if I started to feel peace.
Aye.
The atmosphere shifted in the cell that was claustrophobic all of a sudden became a peaceful place.
Aye.
The Edinburgh Mountains, I had a big massive view of them. They were there the whole time, but I just couldn't see them.
Aye.
So in this moment, in this horrendous time, I'm having this, all of a sudden, great time. I'm freer in the jail cell than I've ever been my whole life. But
It's crazy,
I have this moment where I'm in the Word and I'm in the Bible and I'm reading, and I have this moment where I know, I read about the crucifixion and I know that what Jesus dying on the cross, what he done was the reason
Aye.
I felt this peace thousands and thousands of years later.
Aye.
I know it's where my freedom is.
Yeah.
And I have to grow in that, and it's a tiny seed that's planted, but it changes my life forever.
Which is amazing. It's like, and I say that all the time. It's like, and it's like you say, you've found this thing that works.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell everybody about it, but you've got to be, and you have got that where you understand people's where they're at in their journey. Do you know what I mean? And they might not be ready for whatever. Like, they do you know what I mean? And that's fine. And everybody, some other people have got different beliefs, and I think what was the moment when you kind of went like that? Like, this is definitely root. Was it the crucifixion thing that made you go, this is real? Or was it we kind of thinking before that?
I just knew I was different.
Aye.
I knew something was different in me, and I knew I never doubted that this was God.
Was it the peace thing that just?
It was the peace. It was the fact that when the jail started to open up and the drugs all started to come back in, and I was getting offered drugs, and Candice, you want this, you want a line, you want that, and I was like, no,
aye,
I don't know what's. I can't explain it, but I'm different.
Aye.
My whole ideas, there was just this shift.
Aye.
All of a sudden, I want to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, all the years of carnage and addiction and stuff that people I know, that people need to know about this. I'm like, if I can get free for this, then maybe everybody can. And that's where that's what happens when you have that experience. It's like a thing you're compelled into, and you want to tell the other prisoners. And then when you get out, and I had to go out and do further work in myself, and that it wasn't just.
Did you get like in the prison where like some of your pals didn't get it? Like they were like, or they wanted the old Candice back, or you know that way where like some people would have been attached to the old Candice.
Right.
Did you have to break some people away, like in the?
Maybe not so much in the prison, because it was probably just kind of felt like a good thing, like with the folk that I was sitting with, they weren't that bothered, and they probably didn't feel, I wasn't judging them for being who they were, but it was probably the only challenges I had with then being a Christian in prison, because that's what I was trying not to go back into the old character if something happened, or if I was offended, or if something to deal with things the way I always did, because I had a new way of life, and I was following God, and I was reading the Bible, and it was changing my mindset. It's like a renewal of the mind.
Aye. Were you seeing things differently? Like maybe if somebody did offend you, like, and say, when you'd have reacted with anger, were you reacting with like?
I knew, like, all of a sudden I had to go, and if somebody does something and I'm angry, I've got to go and go to God and go, God, I'm sorry for getting angry.
Aye.
Help me not be angry, God. Help me have patience with these people, God. I'm called to love them. I'm learning how to love mad prisoners that are all after nut, who you saw them as like pure, that way they're like threatening before. You're keeping them, and then all of a sudden you're trying to see people in a different light.
It's weird, isn't it? And it must have been an amazing experience, but like in that whole. Because I know a few guys who have had that kind of thing in prison, and it is, they say like they see everything differently. It's like because you've got a whole array of people, and as you say, for different things and different, and you're trying to see the good and annoy them. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's
some
weird.
of them don't seem that good.
Some of them, you're like,
some of them are hard to love. But the thing is, it's like it's everything's spiritual. Then,
of course.
So when the Bible teaches about about the difference between warring against people, we don't war against flesh and blood. Everything's a spiritual thing, and it teaches you about evil and darkness, and it being a spiritual thing as opposed to a people thing. It's in people. We've all got sin in us, but it's separating the two, and that's an easy thing to try and love people. You go, right, well, I can have hope for you that you can be better. You can be better. I can see. Like, everybody's created in the image of God, so I can see good in you, even though there's pure evil in you. That before I'd have like slaughtered you for, or just said you're just not a good person. You know what I mean? Now I can go, right, you're just got that. We've all fell
short.
That
wee tiny bit of good rather than it's a perspective thing, isn't it? And then that's obviously God's giving you that perspective where you're able to see that tiny wee bit of good in that bad person. And listen, I say bad person very. I don't, because I've not met. I don't think I've met any evil people. I've met people who have had really hard times, and that's not a product of what their experiences is. Do you know what I mean? And some characters, like you see, like big names, and I'm not, you're not going to name names, but some of the characters, like you see,
like serial killers and things.
Serial killers, big gangsters, and this and that, and you kind of listen to their story, and you go. You know, for no wonder you're like that. Do you know what I mean? But there's still hope for people to change. But no wonder you hate the fucking world, and you're willing to do anything to. You know what I mean? Because your experiences have shaped you. Do you know what I mean? It's like I often say to people, like, you don't know people's story, right? And you never do. But we're very quick to judge any of it. But I can honestly, genuinely put my hand on my heart and say there's so many people out there that have got reputations and maybe things, and people think they're this big, hard I am and whatever, and you scratch the surface with that person, and you see that they've maybe been abused when they were younger, neglected as a kid and all that. And I know I don't know how big you are on that kid, but you see these things.
I think it all
do you know
plays
what I
a
mean?
part. I
So
agree.
you go, I see
like nature, nurture kind of thing.
totally, and you wouldn't shout at that wee boy or that wee lassie and go, "You're a bad person," when you've been. And I think that wee person's always in there. Just they've grew into somebody around about their environment, because that's what's
you're just surviving a lot of the time, and I agree. But sometimes that evil does exist. I think that as well. And I think there's levels there. And I've met some people who have maybe in the prison and things who have done evil things. But to me, it's God who judges.
Different from an evil. think like
I think
do you believe
folk
you
are,
get evil people?
I think you can be born that way, but
Right.
then it's like with my belief systems, it's kind of sometimes generational, I know.
Aye. Aye.
So it's like, for me, I feel like a lot of it is spiritual too.
Aye.
But then you can get just folk that have just been in a world, they're in that conditioning, they've been, as you say, the trauma folk experience, and it plays a massive part in it. But I think sometimes it is just pure evil, I know.
Aye.
Aye.
Well, listen, I actually heard Joe Rogan saying it not long ago, and he was talking about like why people believe so much in God, right? There's so many people believe in God, but they don't want to take on the part of the devil,
Aye.
and they don't want to believe there's a devil. And if you believe in God, the devil's there. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? So it's like the devil's fucking powerful. Do you know what I mean? Like, and as you say earlier, like he's the prince of this world. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But his power is never going to be like the light is. God's always more powerful if you turn to him. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, there's a lot. The devil's got a lot to play with, and he's got a lot of.
There's a lot of like darkness in the world, isn't there?
Yes.
Aye.
And especially at this stage, they know they were in a really weird stage where
Aye.
I think there's a lot more people becoming spiritual and a lot more people going to turn into God. But there's a lot of bad happening.
It's getting darker.
And do you think? I think that might just be like that kind of separation where people are starting to go that way, and you're getting people that are going to get picked.
It's always more dark before the dawn, isn't it?
I know.
I think when you get a lot of darkness, it's like light rises up, because it's like a spiritual awakening comes with pain.
Aye.
It's like the lockdown. A lot of folk did become more like into kind of spirituality or found God.
Aye.
Was
that right?
If you kind of look at it overall, why loads of people, because it was such a testing time and a time where you're relying on people or your own strength, and that kind of failed you. The anxiety, the mental health, the isolation, all the things that happened. It's discomfort and pain that people usually experience a spiritual awakening through.
Aye. No, I get that, and I think see, obviously, like when you get out, Candice, how did you know I'm not going back to fucking punting drugs and that mad life? Did you know, like, when you walked out?
Aye, when I got out, I'd absolutely know. I was like, I'm done. I was like so done. I had this like, I was just living right in the truth of what had happened, what my part was in it.
Aye.
That I'd known a condemning way, because look, Christians talk about conviction, but it's
12
no.
years is still about hammering, right?
Aye.
So you're taking responsibility for a lot,
Aye.
right? And you're forgiving a system that has done you. I mean, 12 years is doing. You know what I mean? So
in Liverpool and in London, you get bigger sentences.
Is that right?
Aye, because they're major cities and they're kind of drug capitals.
Drugs. It makes sense in a way, do you know what I mean? And I've seen some that you see it sometimes when you read wee bits in the paper and you see you guys getting 40 years and all that doing in Liverpool and that, do you know what I mean? But again, that could easily have made you better for your full life. You could have easily jumped, like, clinging on to that, like, that bastard system gave me 12 years when you'd have been up here and maybe go, I don't know, a 5 or a 7, whatever. I don't know, but so you're taking responsibility for your actions, and was that the whole way you were thinking when you were going out, or were you thinking I'm going to do, like, start spreading the word? Or
Aye,
was that...
I just wanted to tell. I wanted people to know about the freedom that I had got in there through my experience with God. I didn't, see, truth be told, the bitterness and all that had left me. See any resentment I had, or that everybody had done this to me, it was all lies.
Aye.
My mind, it was delusion. The truth of the matter was that I feel like I get exactly the time that I was meant to get. I feel like it all was meant to happen. But I like, that's the way I believe that God's got a plan for us all.
Aye.
And his plans are good.
Aye.
So but we need to align with his will.
Aye.
And in that moment, there was alignment with God.
Aye.
And it was meant to see, if I had got a year less,
Aye.
I would probably still be in and out, getting recalled, carnage, drug addiction, trying to make money, like, just not having, it's freedom even if you want to make a lot of money. That's what needed to be removed from me, for the material world, aye.
Because that is we're living in a world now where it's like the material world. Like, I mean, you want to go and buy, if you want to get a rig out for a night out, you're 200-300 quid. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is like, if you like your designer gear or you like
Aye.
your clothes. Do you know what I mean? It's so you're living in a world now where everything's a lot dearer, and I think
There's a lot of fear around about it, isn't
of
there?
course, aye.
Aye.
And so what was it? What was it like going back into the community?
Aye. In reflection, it was hard, but I felt at the time, I felt so connected to God. I was probably quite, my mind probably was still all over the place, and I wasn't as balanced and stable as I am now.
Aye.
But I was like quite traumatised with the experience, and I was saying to you earlier, like I would be crossing the road and a motor would come. I hadn't been that close to cars in so many years, and the isolation for months and months had done something to my brain. It would feel like I was just crossing the road and I was running like as if everything just felt dead and tense. It was like Back to the Future in McDonald's with these big machines, and I'm out like, just out of this jail. It's like a year and a half in isolation, like a wee stranger in my own life. But I never I felt equipped for it. I felt like and God put everything in my path that I needed. I went in and done the 12 steps. I went in and I never had major plans to what I was gonna do. I just knew that it was going to be all right.
So see when you were like doing the 12 steps or that, was it the easiest thing in the way that, did you never get any cravings, or did you never get the thing where you were maybe thinking about going back, no temptations, none of that come back?
I drank alcohol when I got out a couple of times in the April, and that's how I'm coming up to 4 year in April, and that's what we go by. And that's what we go by in there is total abstinence. So I had drank, but I had kind of never really had major issues with drink anyway. So I was kind of in my mind thinking I'd be all right just with a wee drink and stuff. But in order for me to do the 12 steps, it was total abstinence. And the thing for me at that point was I just didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back to hell and the jail and addiction. So I just went in there and I just kind of done what they told me.
Aye.
And I wanted to help other people, and I knew there was a process where I was going to learn how to battle addiction, and I truly learned how to battle addiction doing the 12 steps. And then I was able to keep what I had by giving it away. Aye. And that's what the process it got me into like rebuilding in my life and volunteering with like Harbour, and I done so much good, and knew it's like the church stuff. It's all kind of came full circle for me where my brother's planted a church a few years ago in Anbank, and with him doing that, it's prospering. It's been great.
No, it's listen, and then obviously we've got Charles coming on the podcast soon as well. But it's your family's done a massive U-turn. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously I knew your Uncle Eddie, and I knew your dad in the jail, and they were well known figures in the jail. And I always actually remember like one of the guys who I always remember the first time I kind of knew Eddie, because Eddie was always quiet. It wasn't that in your face. He was always just he was a gentleman. That's what I said. Even back then, he was a gentleman. Like he was always that way. But I remember I didn't even really know who he was. Like it was just because I was from Cumbernauld, just this wee guy. But there was a kind of big guy his name was, I'm not going to say his name, but he was a big guy for Glasgow, and he came up and went, "You're on my fucking intel," saying I'm not going near you. And I'm like, who's this guy then if he's not going near him? You know what I mean? That's funny. And but it was always like they were always both of them were always like lovely people. I thought. So what was it? Was the community like? Because obviously you're building this stuff in the community, and maybe I'm not saying you've done harm done in the community, but maybe you've like there's a wee bit you're trying to give back. Aye. Was there any resistance to that? Was people like? I
don't think I've never found that. I have. And like Charles has been a Christian for about 20 odd years. He's been helping folk in Ayrshire, and Eddie's been in recovery 13, and he's done a lot of Harbour, and he does the 12 steps and all that. So, and a lot of other family members are in. Yeah. It's like the ripple effect.
It's creating a movement, didn't it?
Ayrshire's on fire with all the recovery and stuff, but the thing is, I've never felt anybody. People just love change and
No.
folk getting well. And the thing is, you can judge people if you want, but at some point you might have a family member who's an addict who you're
Definitely.
going to, and we will be there to
The
help
ones that will be
folk.
helpful.
And we're no perfect, and we're no claiming to be. It's not that you're glorifying your past. It's that you're trying to break generational
Totally.
curses.
You've done it.
Isn't it?
Like, you've done,
Aye.
well, to the there's a massive, you can't say there's no the massive change isn't been there, do you know what I mean? And
Aye.
what you're putting in place for the community now is how to get better for this stuff, do you know what I mean? So I don't believe in coincidences, right? I know
No.
we've spoken. I'm no kind of the way, like, and I'm not going to call myself a Christian by any means, but I don't believe in coincidences, and I think things happen for a reason, and I think, like, I believe in synchronicity, things synchronise, and that you would probably call that Jesus weaving us all together. Do you know what I mean? But
Jesus, I like that
it
actually.
probably would be, but it's a synchronicity. I believe, like, it's synchronised. Do you know what I mean? And,
Aye, 100%. You can't deny this stuff, can you?
no.
For so many like people and I don't. Nothing in God's world happens by mistake. Or God uses all things for the good.
Aye,
For those who love Him, and I feel like all the stuff the darkness in our lives that would have eventually killed or destroyed and stolen continuously forever more in our lives, it was broken, and it's used now for and it can be used for good, and it's not to
Definitely.
glorify it, but it's see if you can take that's not just us. This is other people's lives. I know other anybody who's going through stuff. It can all be used for the good.
Yeah,
That's what the hope is.
yeah,
And it's no just us. We're no special.
no.
We're just for me. It's not about me.
I know what
It's
you
not
mean.
about what I do.
It's like
I'm not
spreading
this
the word
great
of,
person.
aye.
If I'm left to my own devices, I end up sitting in the jail doing a 13-year sentence. That's
Aye,
where I end up.
aye.
It's God.
Aye.
That's what it is, and it's a triune God for me. It's the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's aye.
No, it's as I says to you before, like, it's when you meet people who have had that profound change,
Mm.
it's hard to deny it. Like, it really is. And then when you go down and you feel the energy at these places. Do you know what I mean? It's like it is. It's hard to deny it. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm not open to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just at this moment in my life, I'm no, like, I wouldn't call myself a Christian. Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't, like, say that because I'm no, like, do you know what I
Aye.
mean? But I think it's beautiful to watch.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's amazing to watch the change in people.
Aye.
Um, and I think the prison system and the broken communities and stuff, like, they need
Hope.
and this brings hope. You know what I mean? Like, there's no denying that.
No.
Like, you can't deny that. I mean, have you seen a massive change in the whole, like, the communities you used to kind of maybe jump about in? Have you seen the changes in that community now where there's positivity and stuff?
Aye, there's loads of change happening. The between the meetings or the church stuff, and even a few months ago, I started a Christ-centered recovery group, Bridge to Freedom. It's on a Monday night in Irvine, and it's like even there was 43 people there on Monday. 43. Some of them are the most broken people in society, and it's like there's people coming and getting better and restoration.
Aye,
But we young guys, a wee boy that's my wee nephew's age,
aye,
who are coming in, getting freedom for addiction, and then like his full family all starts to come to the church. They're
aye.
all happy. He's getting baptised or doing baptisms in Air Beach. It's freezing. The boys are all loving it. They're all growing in their faith, and they're getting freedom for addiction, and they're and that ripples.
Yeah.
It can't help but ripple. And it's I believe I feel like everywhere you look, somebody's finding God or seeking God, or I just see a need everywhere.
I agree with you. I think that there's a massive need for community. Like, I think if you see the working class communities that we were speaking about, a lot of them are broken in the way that there's no sense of community anywhere,
Aye.
and a lot of these places, um, which never used to be. There might used to be crime, and there might used to have been like drugs and drink and whatever, but there was always a sense of community. Like your neighbour would have helped your neighbour, and that kind of stuff was always
Aye.
there. That get broke. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was Maggie Thatcher or whatever, but it get broke. You know what I mean?
Aye.
I don't know, like if it was politics or
Or lack. There
lack
was
of faith, the faith trap.
there was
you know what I mean?
generations where they were kind of had a moral compass and went to church and all that. That all kind of died off, and it's no go any better for them. People maybe didn't want religion.
Yes.
What I don't see is it would be classed as religious, and I'm not scared to call myself religious.
Aye.
But what I have is a personal relationship. It's not a set of rules or a set of like traditions or superstitions.
Dogma. Like that.
It's not that. It's a
dogma
this is a personal relationship where it's a like something that's meaningful and deeper than just going to church and doing good things and being a good person. It's something where it's just a personal thing in me.
No,
But I think the
I think,
generation. I think for me that's the way I see it. Is it's had an impact on
definitely.
society that folk don't have any faith or they don't have any spiritual principles. People don't know spiritual principles, so they make up their own. So then we end up led into a world where everybody just makes up what is good. I don't know what good is.
Mhm.
So I go to the Word of God.
No, that makes sense, and I think if you applied that to like any of the communities that we've got, that we see problems in, that would be that would certainly help. You know what I mean?
Aye.
And I think we need hope. So what's happening with the church? Obviously, I know Charles in there doing the church stuff and all that. And then if you get your in, is there a rehab and stuff as well? Is that
No, Charles has always kind of worked with, he works with an organisation, Broken Chain, so they
right?
kind of get folk into a lot of rehabs and
Aye.
things. But the church at the moment's been going for coming up in 3 years, and we're just kind of in that Anbank Community Centre there now. It's been, it's just been great. And the thing is, see what you're just saying there, like these communities that could be doing with this stuff, a lot of these folk would never step foot in a church.
No,
Right, so what we're doing is trying to,
I've got a resistance to going to church.
because it's like
I don't
you're
know
going to
why.
be there and you're
Aye.
going to be all tense and you're feeling like it's this kind of religious, spirited, like this different kind of vibe. But what at House of Prayer, we're creating a church where everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
Where the religious people that have always been Christians, where people for our background are welcome, people for addiction backgrounds, 12-step backgrounds, where we can come and it's quite lively. We've got music playing. We like the good tunes
Aye.
and all that, and we just kind of but we stick to the Word of God. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? It's thing with, but it's been going for about 3 years, and what's happening in the news, we're looking at a building in Irvine. We're praying into that. We're trying to get in the area that it's in is a mad one, because it's where see what I was saying, like my dad and that were kind of all brought up
Aye,
in this
aye, aye.
area in Irvine. It was a kind of like the scheme
Aye.
where like the poverty stricken area where kind of we all grew up, and there was a lot of carnage back in the day. So to go back there, and actually
Aye.
the church that we're looking at would be just God.
Aye,
Nobody
aye,
could do this
aye.
stuff, by the way, because we're like maniacs, isn't it? And God uses the maniacs, by the way, because we'll think out the box. We'll actually believe for that stuff. So we're praying into it and believing for it.
It'll happen. I've got no doubt it'll happen. And I think it's just it's amazing to watch. In obviously, I know you've got like maybe plans in your head and for the future and maybe go into prisons and stuff like that. I think that'd be amazing. I think
Aye.
like you're more than I think you're more than built for that. Do you know what I mean? I think like you could go in there and get a lot of success, Candice. I think when people that have maybe been in the prison and been that anti-authority way and maybe had that wee bit of reputation in the prison change, I think that changes. A lot of people will listen to you.
Aye.
And I don't mean that. I like.
No,
I
it's the
don't.
power
I'm not,
of lived
aye,
experience, and
that's it.
there's power
That's
in
it.
if you've lived a way, I'll listen before I will somebody who
Yeah.
hasn't got that experience.
And if you've lived in that at the top kind of branch of that kind of stuff, and you're like, then you're people will listen to that. That's where the
Mm.
change comes. It's no like I'm not trying to be hanging, but if you're a wee guy that goes into prison and both crumbles and like people see that, people are like, I'm not listening to that person. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's you're going to listen to the people that you go, fuck's sake, she was like
Aye.
mental in here, man. She was like that. Do you know what I mean? Or he was fucking nuts in here, and he's
No, aye.
running. Why is
What
he?
happened?
What happened there? Do you know what I mean? That's where you get the spark, because there's certain people that I hear their name and they go, oh, she's turned to God, and I'm like, wow, is he?
Right.
Like, do you know that way
Aye.
you're surprised? Is he?
Aye.
Fuck's sake, like, and it's that I think that gets you. Do you know what I mean? It's because it's what they used to be like. Do you know what I mean? And you're
And they
like,
were quite capable in the past, so what there was no,
totally.
and what is the need for in
Aye.
it? And the thing is, it's one of the things that you're like, don't miss out, isn't
I
it?
know.
This, if it's a good thing,
Aye.
like if there's freedom and offer,
I know.
isn't it? I would love to get into the prison, Sean, and I'm still in a licence until 2028, so that kind of affects things in that. But who knows where God will take you, isn't it?
I think you will. I think like you. I think that's what you do. So what is it you're doing now, Candy? What do you do with yourself now?
Well, I work 3 days a week at like a nail tech, but out with that, I do more voluntary. So that's where I find most effective for my my own recovery. Aye, and I but serving in the church, we do the church stuff. We'll work with others. There's discipling or my 12 steps. I work with others there. We're groups, so we're kind of like there's never a free moment.
Aye,
You're busy. Aye, and there's a massive need. So and the folk have known you and they have known where you've came from. All of a sudden, a lot of people come out the woodwork, can't it? And you're trying to help as many folk as you can without doing it your own strength.
Like you know, and I know that MD that's an addiction and MD that's kind of they want help. They might not say it, they might not but they want it. They want help. They want freedom. They want to be free for the chains of addiction. Do you know what I mean? That is what everybody wants when they're in addiction. Do you know what I mean? So I think just like keeping doing what you're doing, and as you say, God will guide you. Because as much as I don't believe it, it's weird. It's hard to deny it when you see it. You know, if that makes sense. As much as I don't believe it, it's just like I've got my own set of beliefs, and I'm probably, I don't know, like maybe like me that needs to change. Probably, do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it's you definitely see these things, and it's hard to deny it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where the power lies. It's like you say to me, well, tell me how, Sean, how my why have I changed so much, and what was it done? Logic doesn't really answer that.
No,
if you know what I mean, or like you could say this and that, like, but there's definitely
there's evidence. There's evidence in it.
Aye,
because I was saying that to my mum that the other night. I was like, sometimes folk have just got these mad ideas about like God, or they say mad things, but nothing really. But it's when you see people getting results and evidence of changed lives and years in recovery and good lives coming for it, and you can't deny it.
I look at outputs, right, rather than inputs.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
You can have a lot of inputs going into like a church, and then but I want to see the output. I want to see the output. Aye, you want to go right. Let's see what that happened then, and that's what you can't deny. Because it's when and then you've seen the evidence they've done the change, and the change has happened. And sometimes you will see that spiritual change overnight, which is astronomical. Like, because you go, there's a guy that I know that's fucking running into 10 screws, like mental nutcase, like and then the next day's I'm going to be a priest, and like that, like that's it. And you're like, what happened to you? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I was touched by God, and you're like, fucking hell, man, like that's mental. So it's these kind of things that you go, there is something. You know what I mean? And whether you believe in it, no, I would say to anybody who's suffering, try it. To go and try these things. Do you know what I mean? What have you got to lose? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what you should be with anybody that's watching this. you go like that, what you got, what is you've got to lose? Do you know what I mean? So what's the plans for the future then, Candice? What's your
The plans is to get the building for the church. I feel like that's where my heart is, you know, and we're going to be planting in Irvine, and I feel like I do a lot of speaking in churches now as well.
aye,
I love to sit down and simplify the Bible. That's where I really feel
aye.
like
That's what me
it's
and you were doing
exciting stuff.
earlier.
Just
Aye, I
sitting,
know.
getting a wee scripture, and I do that a lot. So I'm going to do some courses this year with an organisation and go along these types of lines, and I'll continue to work in myself. That's the important thing. It's
Aye.
all right having these experiences and being on the mountaintop, but it's like it's continuing on the daily
Definitely.
to continue to work on your old nature not coming back and continuing to help others. That's one of the processes by
Aye.
keeping what you've got by giving it away.
Definitely, but that old person doesn't go away, does it? It's like you're in a battle with that, but when you've got something as powerful as what you've got, like
Grown.
grown, and
Aye.
you don't really turn back at that. You don't look back at that old person. That old person might be trying to get through, and there might be times where, because obviously, like it was an interesting thing you were saying about the kind of 12 steps and the kind of Christian stuff. And then even the Catholic stuff and the maybe different areas are like the church and all that.
Aye.
The, is there a wee bit of kind of sometimes a wee bit of kind of no like but just a misunderstanding between it?
Well,
or
there's
that?
all different in Christianity. There's loads of different denominations,
Yeah.
isn't there? And with the 12 steps, it's a God of your own understanding. So we have like religious members, or we have members who have just higher powers, or the
Aye.
thing. Wayne, but it's for me, it's what works for you.
Totally.
And I love, like, I love telling people about Jesus. I wouldn't want anybody to miss out on it. But the 12 steps works for me. Working it into my life, I'm not taking any chances. It's worked up to this point. So I stick to that. But whatever works for you. But aye, you've always going to have folk that like one thing or don't like the next, or disagreements. That's human nature, isn't it?
I know, and I think it's as things grow, that's probably you're going to need like stronger people like yourself, Candice, to keep things on the right path, because as things grow, you do get people coming in with maybe the wrong intentions, and maybe they don't even know they're coming in with the wrong intentions. But I've seen like kind of powerful movements crumble because of maybe a couple of people coming in and be bad. No, but it's just using these things like
Aye.
as a ring. And I think I don't know about the Ayrshire the new, but I feel as if the 12 steps is kind of getting no, it's not a bad name. I wouldn't say that, because I think it's the best model of recovery I've seen. It's like
Aye.
the best. I'm not 12 steps, but for me, it's the best model. And if you want recovery, that's the best way to get it. I've seen other people getting it through willpower and stuff.
Aye.
9 times out of 10, they'll fall back. Whereas the 12 steps seems to give you a map for life or whatever it is.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
Designed for living, isn't it?
Designed for
Say
living,
aye.
like the way. So
Aye.
I think, but I have recently, I've heard a few people saying I'm not going to the 12, I'm not going back to the 12 steps because maybe the guy phoning them at like too much or whatever, or
Right.
I don't know, like just different
Different
things.
reasons, isn't it?
And I think that needs to be kept. I think that needs to be kept clean, because
Aye.
there's a lot of change happening here, and a lot of people want to get better.
Aye.
So I think we need to kind of keep like, well, you get not even yourself, but just the 12 steps. Things needs to kind of try and.
The 12-step fellowships don't align themselves, so they're believing principles over personalities.
Aye.
So that's the reason for that. The 12 steps is protected in that sense, where it's an anonymous program, so that one person or two people or bad behaviour doesn't really affect them.
Right. Aye.
So, and the truth is, you can, like we were saying earlier, you can go in with a mindset and 5 people in the room can annoy you, and you can build a picture, or you can go in and take the good and leave the bad kind of hanger. But ultimately, it's one of the most successful models of recovery, isn't it?
Oh, aye.
And it
No
works.
doubt.
But I just work it and keep it simple, innit? Keep it in the day. Don't go in and try and reorganise the whole thing or
Aye,
run the show.
aye.
Just keep myself at it.
Aye.
And it just do my wee,
Aye.
do the simple stuff, isn't it? It works better.
I think if you're the best version of you,
Aye.
then anybody running about you is going to get the best out of you.
Aye.
Do you
And
know
it's
what I mean?
it's like getting out of self-will, I know.
Aye,
Just like human beings, like what you were saying, you get human nature, do you know what I mean, can come in and it can ruin things.
definitely.
But if it's no, if God's in the centre of something, it should prosper, it should be good, there should be light in it, there
Aye.
should be goodness, there should be good fruit, there should be people freed up, getting well, and that's what you're wanting towards, just keeping yourself at the road. For me, that's what it is anyway.
Definitely, Candice. So is there anything that like obviously we're just coming up to the end of the podcast, but is there anything like that I've missed that you would like to have spoke about, or is there anything like that you'd have liked to have spoke more about, or anything you can think of?
Um, no, I think you've covered everything, Sean, in it.
Aye,
It's just thing with it, and I don't I'm no dead comfortable doing like the film and stuff and all that, ain't it? But I felt like for me, if it's gonna help somebody and that, I came in,
I know.
and for me it is about my life is about telling people what I've experienced through
Aye,
Jesus, and that's what I want.
I
Aye.
think the lived experience thing
Yeah.
on top of that with the change is that's what people want to see. It's like again, it's evidence based. It's all right if you're a like we were talking about me earlier. I'm just using his name because Jordan Peterson talking
Mhm.
about how to do this and how to. But you go like, "Ah, well, you're a fucking millionaire doctor,
Aye.
like that's got this." But yeah, he said these problems with addiction and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? He said went through all that as well, and I think he's actually turned to God now, Jordan Peterson. But
Aye.
I'm just using him for example. Like you could people, I can see why people would listen to him and go, "Aye, that's all right for you. You don't know what life I come from."
Mm.
But you've came for a lived experience background where nobody can talk about like you've been sentenced to 12 years in prison, you've done a 12-year, and you've come out the other side a better person.
Mm.
That's real evidence that it can be done. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? So I think that's amazing, Candice,
Aye.
today, honestly.
See the way I see it now, that like the way I'm grown towards is that it's not just about people for addiction backgrounds, people for criminal backgrounds. See, ultimately, like faith can change, but I feel like there's a need in society. There's a need in everybody at some point in everybody's life. There's going to be the winds of life are going to blow.
And
Even
big
dealing
crisis.
with death, even dealing with, as you said, everybody's experienced trauma in some level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That life's no easy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's kind of channeling into a thing where I just feel like everybody should get
Aye.
a wee bit of faith in their life.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Aye.
So listen, what I'll do is I'll do with everybody, I'll give you the kind of last wee message on the podcast. So see if there was anybody like watching this that maybe is struggling in life with addiction or that kind of mad chaotic lifestyle and that. What would be your kind of message to them?
My message is just to pray out and ask God to help you. Seek God in your life, and it can change everything, whether that be through meetings, through going to church, through somebody you know who's had this experience. Cry out to God, ask Him for help, and He'll guide you.
Aye.
That's all I done, was a prayer in a jail cell, 2019 or 20, around about that time at the lockdown. Just prayed.
Aye.
And that
And
was
it
that.
came.
And years later, and my life has been completely transformed.
And is it easy enough to find? Like, is there always something in every community? Because I know Cumbernauld, like we've got the big Freedom Centre, I think, and there's loads of
Freedom City
Freedom
Church.
City
Aye,
Church,
it's a great church as well.
and
Aye.
I know there's loads of different.
Mhm.
My sister-in-law's she's a Christian, and she's always trying to get me to go to church as well. You know what I
Aye.
mean? Like there's there is a lot of people going back to it. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't seem to be the old religious
Aye,
churches, and do you know that way
aye.
where you're going and it's a
I
priest
think
and
a
there's
lot of churches are shutting down now. A lot of kind of that's what's happening. But what's popping up is a lot of spirit-filled churches.
aye,
There's a lot more kind of seems to be life, and even the churches that are already established in Ayrshire, there's some good ones that are like that have been there for years that have got good energy,
aye.
good worship music. It's not what you would imagine in your
No,
mind so much.
no. It's more like well, I can only say like, do you remember the kind of old kind of black churches you would see like when
Aye,
they were
like the
always singing the
gospel
gospel
music.
music and
Aye,
that.
that's
It's
kind
a
of
bit more
it's.
like that.
I can that's what it's quite like nowadays.
Aye,
Aye, it's great fun. It's no like I think folk have got just all these images of Christianity in their minds, or churches in their
aye.
mind, or
Remember you
when
used
it
to get, you
is.
when you were a wee guy when you were a Catholic,
You
when
went
you used to get
aye,
told like you're 6 year old you were going to burn in hell if you didn't say,
aye,
if you know what I mean, you'd be like, "Ah,
terrified in it. I know that's
so I think
true.
I think like things have changed, and I think listen, anybody that's kind of struggling should try anything. And I think you're an amazing role model, Candice. I
Mm,
think like your story is an amazing story, and I think it'll change a lot of people. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? So I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been brilliant,
mm.
brilliant having you on.
Enjoyed
But
it.
thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Sean.
Cheers, Candice.
Right.